Hold on. I'm trying to think of a tagline. I did not think of a tagline. Hold on. I don't know. Ride or die, 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 ride or die. Okay. I don't know. It's my goofy way of saying ride or die. I don't know. Sorry this one was late. I thought I was gonna have this episode come out on Friday. Then shit happened. Stuff came up. Stuff I didn't think would come up, but they came up. Cause I had Friday off, so I thought maybe I could squeeze in a review on that day. That didn't work. So, I was practically busy Friday and yesterday. So, that's why today you got a shit ton of bonus stuff. Because I just did a whole bunch of fucking videos today. So I was practically busy. I was busy, this whole day. I was like, am I even gonna have time to do the shit I want to do? Nope. So, yay. So, because of that, I had to catch up on a lot of shit. So, I had to do the song review from Set It Off. I had to do Chucky Season 2 review. I had to do a taste test. I had to review Demonic Toys. My brain is so mind-fucked. And, yeah, so I had to catch up on a lot of stuff. Hopefully this next weekend this is a lot more chill. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. I hope so. But yeah. Well, but this review definitely takes top priority, because if I try and do it Monday or Tuesday, I'm just gonna fall behind. So, Tony and Ziva, Season 1, Episode 9. Ride or Die is the name of the episode. Ride or Die. So, okay, I will say this. If we get a Season 2, judging by how things are looking, this is judging how things are looking for right now. I'm not saying we are getting a Season 2. This is my thoughts, judging on how things are looking. If we do get a Season 2, perfect. More Tony and Ziva. If we don't, I'm okay with it. Because this does seem to be a very good miniseries. If the case is that this is just going to be a single season. If this is just going to be a single season, that's fine. I'm okay with that. It's a perfect miniseries, and we can call it even. If it isn't, and we get a Season 2, more the merrier. I love Tony and Ziva. I love these characters. Might as well give us a second dose of this, you know? So, or a second scoop of ice cream. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about anymore. So, yeah, let's talk about this, because, I have a lot of notes. I have a lot of fucking notes. This is a lot heavier episode. Because of that, I think the finale, because we have one more episode after this. Next week is the finale. Guys. The finale. Can you believe it? We've been doing this for like 6-7 weeks. So, here's the plan. So I'm going to review episode 9. Next week, I'll review the finale. Then after that, I'm going to do my first time binge video. That is literally just my overall thoughts on the season as a whole. That'll be my overall thoughts. And we'll see. Maybe this show gets picked up for Season 2. I would love it. If it doesn't, hey, had a good mini-series. So, let's talk about it. There's a lot of shit I want to talk about, so let's go over the list. So, the episode started off with Tony at Isla Zafira. and he was trying to find Jonah and Aaron, in which both of them are at Aaron's compound at the island. And while on a phone call, both Tony and Ziva realized that with the 9.4 chip, the MacGuffin of this whole show, being an AI that learns and adapts their experience, they figure out, hey, maybe it has some evidence on Jonah killing Henry. And if it does, maybe we can get whatever evidence is in there and use it, and hopefully that will clear our names. So, and they think that through because, well, Jonah's the sole creator. It obviously has to have some dirt on Jonah. Why not? So that's the first portion. So what they eventually do is that Tony plans on scoping the compound, see what happens, and so while that happens, Ziva, Claudette, and Boris plan to pick up a flight to head to Isla Zafira to pretty much follow Tony. Back at the compound. Okay. Back at the compound. Because you remember from the last episode, Jonah is pretty much doing the bring your friends close and your bring your friends close and your enemies closer type thing. Hold on, I need to have a sip here. I know I don't do it into that, but I need to. Okay. So back at the compound. Because remember from the last one, Jonah is doing the bring your friends close, bring your enemies closer thing with him and Aaron Graves. Because Aaron Graves was, of course, I'll tell you later. Because there's something I need to talk about. So he thinks, hey, might as well try and get on Aaron Graves' good side, and then that'll be my way of, hey, I'm gonna use you. So, yeah. So he eventually tries to use him. So they go to the backyard of the compound. And that's when Jonah spots the gun. The Havoc MGL. So, the Havoc MGL was the type of gun that Aaron Graves used on the Balkans. That's right. He used the Havoc MGL at the Balkans to kill Jonah's family. He used it to kill his whole family. So when Jonah spots that, it sort of traumatizes him a little. Then they eventually go back to the house. Just wanted to bring up that portion. Okay, so then the next portion. Ziva then calls Sophie and Tolly. At this point, Ziva then tells... Sophie tells Ziva that the realtors from the safe house in Milan, the safe house that they were at for a little bit, well, the realtors kicked Sophie and Tolly out. So, because of that, they're now on their own, they're driving somewhere. So Ziva tells them, maybe you should go to Barbados, where Sophie's parents are at. So, that is the next step. But Tolly gets very upset at this. She thought that Ziva had told Tolly that she was going to be with Tony and Ziva. Tony and... Ziva then tells Tully, saying that wasn't a plan. No, that wasn't a promise. It was a plan. But Tully reassures her that she said it was a promise. And it was one that she intended to keep. And she was pretty much upset. Tully was pissed at Ziva for going against her word and saying that they were going to be together. Which obviously, that plan didn't fall through. So, next. This ought to fucking surprise you. It fucking surprised me. Now, okay, hold on. So, this gets explained later on. Okay? Gets explained later on. Flashback to November 2021. We are in Barbados. It's Tony and Ziva's wedding. Yep. So, okay. So this gets explained later on. But yeah, when I first saw this, I'm like, no. We're at a wedding. Tony and Ziva's, and I was correct. We're at Tony and Ziva's wedding. Here's the thing. So they get ready for the wedding. This gets explained. So I'm gonna, and this flashback. There's a lot I'm gonna talk about this flashback. So get ready. So eventually, turns out that Tony's dad's flight gets canceled because of what is projected to be a hurricane. So Tony proposes the idea to Ziva, saying that maybe they should get married the next day, so that way his dad can still be at the wedding, which Ziva says yes to. Then, immediately, Tully goes missing. Yep, Tully leaves the wedding venue with no one noticing. And this catches the eye of Claudette, Sophie, and Tony. And Tony tells Claudette and Sophie that saying, hey, I don't want Ziva to know that Tully is missing. I don't want to alarm her. I want her to have a stress-free day from getting ready for the wedding. But room service comes into Ziva's room with a bottle of champagne and says, oh, I'm so sorry, miss. I'm so sorry about the news and your daughter. And she was like, wait, my daughter? What's happening? Room service guy says, oh, don't worry. They'll try and find her. They'll try and find her. So that happens. Back at the present day, Aaron leads Jonah to tunnels. To these underground tunnels are underneath his compound. And we then meet one of Aaron's bodyguards named Ruben. Ruben sort of comes into play, not really. I think he'll come into play more so in the finale, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. So Jonah tells Ruben to pat Aaron down for weapons, etc. So Ruben pats him down before they go into this secret cave that's underground his house. Secret cave. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I can't help but connect the dots. They got Sean Pertwee to play Aaron Grace in this, and he has a secret cave underneath his compound. You know who Sean Pertwee played? He played Alfred Pennyworth in Gotham. This is a Gotham crossover without even telling us. This is a Gotham crossover. That cave underneath his mansion is the Bat Cave. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if my theories are bullshit. That's my theory. That is my theory. So, anyways, he has a secret cave underground his house. In the cave, there happens to be a vault, which leads to a server room. But here's the thing. Only Aaron knows the passcode to get inside the server room. And Aaron only. So, you know what happens. Jonah is pretty much trying to have to find a way to get inside the security room for most of the majority of this episode. Eventually, Aaron gets a security breach from someone who tries to enter the house. And what do you know? It is Tony Donoso. Tony Donoso breaches into the compound. Well, really outside of the compound. He's like trying to get outside the interior, but still. Eventually, we get to a scene at the airport. In this scene, Ziva, Claudette, and Boris are trying to go into the airport, trying to get to Isla Zafira, to find Tony. But what do you know? They are noticed by some of Jonah's henchmen, which leads to a kick-ass fight sequence between Ziva and the henchmen. I know I said this in my previous episode reviews, but god damn it, Cote de Pablo is so good at her own stunts. She is super talented when it comes to her stunts. And I just... Even in the show, I feel like the ZIVA-ISM stunts in every NCIS season, and even NCIS property, the ZIVA-ISM stunts get even better and better and better. I don't know if that's just me. But yeah, I legit love it. And the fight sequence with her and Nassima Benchiku, aka Martin, that sequence was just so fun. I don't know. Watching the ZIVA-ISM fight sequences in the show are just so fun. Like, Cote de Pablo really knows how to do stunt choreography. Like, Ziva's stunts are so badass. So, eventually, after that badass fight sequence, Ziva, Claudette, and Boris find some information. They soon realize that Aaron's caves were the same caves that the Nazis built that spans the entire island. I don't know if this is true, if the Nazis did build caves in Isla Zafira underground, or Isla Zafira. Why do I keep saying Isla Zafira? Isla Zafira. There we go. I don't know if that's true. The Nazis did build caves underground Isla Zafira, and if so, why? Now I'm legit interested. Even then, they don't really explain it that well in the show, unless they did, and I just missed it, and I didn't put it in the notes. So they then put a picture of an energy grid from the computer onto a picture of one of the rumored tunnels. And what do you know? It matches. And there's a lot of fucking cables. And they soon realize with the amount of cables that Aaron has, whatever the hell that he's feeling, it's huge. Like, fucking huge. So, there's that problem. Tony eventually gets a text from an unknown number saying that they have Ziva and that he is next, which is obviously untrue because Ziva is with Claudette and Boris and is perfectly safe with them. But Tony eventually plans to break into the compound to find Jonah and Aaron. So... Whoa. Oh, okay. I'm like, wait, did I delete the wrong thing? No, I did. Okay. So, we then cut to another scene. Martin calls Jonah. Now, if you remember from the last episode, Martin has completely betrayed Jonah. She does not agree with his point of views anymore, and she is, at this point, trying to take him down. So she's trying to take down Jonah and Aaron, while Jonah is also taking down Aaron. So, it's a huge loop-de-loop of who's trying to beat who at this point. So, it's fucking crazy at this point. Anyways, Martin calls Jonah and says that she is totally disappointed that he didn't fill her in about Aaron's English is hard. That she is totally disappointed that Jonah didn't fill her in about Aaron's server room. And even says that she can give him Dejan Lazar's computer. Dejan Lazar was, if you don't remember, pow! By Martin in the ending of the last episode. So, Dejan's dead. So he gives Jonah, and so she tells Jonah saying, I can give you Dejan Lazar's computer so that way you can get all the combinations that you need. Which Jonah hesitantly agrees on. So we then cut back to Sophie and Tali, which they are currently on the flight to go to Barbados, to go to Sophie's parents. And in this scene, I have to stop and pause because I really love the scenes where Sophie and Tali are just talking or just, interacting. Bonding. That's the word I'm trying to look for. Bonding. Sophie and Tali are bonding. It's part of why I loved the episode We've Got Company, because that episode was just so fun to see Tali and Sophie obviously getting along. And in that episode, it seemed like Tali and Sophie were very much partners, and they were like little partners in crime. They were like Tony and Ziva, except without all the romance and kissing. Yeah, no, not like Tony and Ziva. Batman and Robin. There we go. That's much better. They're like Batman and Robin. Wow. I was like, they're like Tony and Ziva. No, they're not. Sophie doesn't. Anyways, I don't want to get canceled for kissing Sophie's photo. Okay. Anyways, let's move on. But yeah, they're literally like Batman and Robin, and like their bonding is so fun to watch. It's part of the reason why I it's part of the reason why I liked the episode We've Got Company, because that episode was so different, because you got to see Sophie and Tali bonding, and it was really fun to see. It looked like Sophie and Tali were also like sisters, They got along super well. And that sort of happens in this scene too. Like, there's one moment where Sophie is like watching a movie on her iPad, and Tali's Switch, I think, or knockoff Nintendo Switch, whatever console she has, whatever gaming console she has, dies on her. And so Sophie asks, do you want to watch this movie with me? And it's about, no, mind you, I forgot what she said, but about this firefighter, and there's romance, and there's action, and blah, 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 blah. And Tali just goes, really? So, yeah, so that happens. And then, but yeah, and like the bonding sequences between Sophie and Tali are just so funny. And like, and then Sophie just goes, well, it's PG-13. I don't think your parents would really want you watching it. And then Sophie's like, really? And then they end up watching it together, only for her Wi-Fi to get broken down. So that happens. Then, at the flight, their flight gets cut off at, what do you know? Isla Zafira. Sorry for the background noise. And the reason why it gets cut to Isla Zafira is because of weather issues. But Sophie checked the weather many moments ago before they flew, and it said that their path was clear. So she comes up with a plan to treat the flight canceling, as though bad guys are close. And the plan is for Sophie to take out the bad guys where they land, when they do land, and if there are bad guys, and for Tali to use a family as camouflage. So then they can go back home and, well, not back home, but like go to Isla Zafira safe. That's pretty much the plan that they have to pretty much get to safety. Then we cut to this moment, which... Martine finds Ziva and talks to her. She then admits to Ziva that Ziva was 100% correct about Jonah. And that maybe Martine never really knew who Jonah was. She even tells Ziva the course of Jonah's plan and the reasoning for his plan, and tells her that he is planning to execute a power grab that will destabilize global military power. At this point, Martine is at all odds, and she does not know what the fuck to do. And she's left with no other alternative. And that is to trust Ziva. So she asks her for her help. Ziva, however, refuses her help. Martine's stuck. She thought she knew her boyfriend very well, but she obviously doesn't. And she's sad. She's very sad. So, next moment. Tony walks into the compound. And he finds a little security camera. And Aaron Graves turns it on. And Tony talks to Aaron via the video call. And he asks Aaron, saying, hey, do you want to ask Jonah how he holds you responsible for the death of his family back at the Balkans? Just, just a little something to think about. I'm wondering what your take is. He just completely spills the beans, spills the juice, And... Jonah shuts it off. It is then revealed at that point, again, this is where Ruben comes back into play, that raining fire had killed Ruben's grandparents in Bogota. Also, when Ruben had patted Jonah down, Jonah had snakefully given him 9.4, without Aaron noticing. So, 9.4 has already infiltrated the island's security system, leaving Jonah in control. And when Aaron does not believe him, Pertweee! The compound explodes. Flashback to 2021! Tony and Ziva eventually get into a fight. Ziva walks down the aisle and yells at Tony and tells him, asking him, why was she the last person to know that her daughter was missing? Mind you, Tali has officially... God damn it. I'm meaning to say Tali, and I keep saying Tony. Tali left the venue with no one noticing. And Ziva's like, why was I the last person to know that Tali left? And Tony said, your daughter? What do you mean, your daughter? You were gone for 4 years. And I had to deal with everything. I had to deal with everything when it came to raising Tali. And you were gone because you had to focus on witness protection. You had to focus on everything. This fueled Ziva. Because at this point, Ziva realized that during couples therapy with Dr. Lang, a year ago, Tony had lied. When Dr. Lang had asked him, what are the things that hurts him when he is with Ziva? And he said, nothing hurts me. But obviously this did. Eventually, Claudette does find Tali. In fact, Tali was actually still at the venue. She was just getting flower petals and putting in her basket for her to practice being a flower girl more. So, she was still at the venue, just no one saw her. So, there's that. Or, there wasn't enough security cameras that was there. Eventually, Tony and Ziva, at nighttime, they both talk by the venue's pool. Tony admits that proposing to Ziva was not planned at all. Not in the slightest. He just thought that maybe he could fix things. Fix him. Fix Tali. But most importantly, fix Ziva. Ziva tells him that there isn't any way for him to fix her. She said that she wasn't broken. She's doing the best she can with being with them, going to Dr. Lang for therapy, which she admits does take time. And then Tony then asks her, why did she even say yes to marrying them in the first place? And she replied by saying, because you guys are the only family I have. Ziva then admits that the biggest mistake of her whole entire life was not telling Tony about Tali. And that's when Tony said that sometimes he doesn't even trust her. And Ziva goes, is that what we want? A marriage without trust? And Tony replies with no. Which, with all this in mind, this reveals why they broke off the wedding. We spent 9 episodes trying to unravel everything. Now we figure it out. There's a comment that I thought proved a lot of good notes. And I want to read it because this proved a lot of good notes about Ziva and her trauma and her PTSD. This comment is from Sandy Brooks. So special thanks to Sandy Brooks for this comment. She says, poor Ziva. In discussing her trauma, you didn't add the huge trauma that alone would emotionally destroy many people. 3 months of captivity with a terrorist group in Somalia, and all of whatever came with that, which was implied but only alluded to on the mothership. Tony didn't mention it to Henry in the flashback. Now, keep in mind, this was during last episode when Tony was talking to Henry in the flashback when they had dinner. So I don't know if Henry ever knew of it, that it was Tony who eventually led her rescue, or that it was likely our dear Tony harbored some guilt about the events that ultimately took her there, as that is how he is. Remember Baltimore? She said a lot of trauma, and when I read that, I was like, holy crap. I forgot all about that. Because, yeah. Because this would have been, if I remember correctly, like season 7. When she got kidnapped. But yeah. She had to do with a lot of stuff. Airy. The whole Mossad stuff. Terrorist group in Somalia. Ziva says that she isn't broken when we all know that she is. And she's deeply trying to fix herself. It's rough. Okay, that's a big note. Okay, back in present time. Ziva, Claudette, and Boris go to the tunnels to go to Aaron's cave. And eventually, what do you know? Martine goes to the cave where Aaron, Jonah, and Ruben are at. She gives Jonah Lazar's computer. And she just asks him the main question. Why is he becoming the person that he has been wanting so badly to destroy? And Jonah just responds, sometimes to destroy a monster, you have to think like one. And think like one he does, because back in the cave, Jonah threatens Aaron that if he doesn't get the code to go to the server room, Jonah will hack into the Hayden 3 car. By the way, the Hayden 3 car was the kind of car that was in episode 3 with the self-driving murder cars, if you remember that. He'll hack into the Hayden 3 car that Aaron's son and grandson are in. And when he hacks into them with 9.4, he will kill them. Martine eventually tries to stop him. Martine tries to stop Jonah. And how does she stop him? By shooting Aaron Graves. Aaron Graves is dead. She kills Aaron. Well, now you've dealt with him, so Boom. Mission succeeded. But there's still that military power. Fuck. Fuck. So, because of that, Jonah can't get a code from a dead man. Eventually, back in the tunnels, Claudette, Boris, and Ziva eventually find Tony. So there's that. They do find Tony underground all the rubble that was at the house. Question. Are you ready for a plot twist? You are? Well, why didn't you say so? Here's a plot twist. Dejan Lazar is fucking alive! So, remember the cliffhanger of episode 8 where Martin told Dejan Lazar saying, I can't trust anyone. Pow! Yeah, well, he's alive. he's still alive. In fact, he is at the hospital. I'm trying to think this all out, because then what did she shoot? Did she shoot one of the computers that was in the computer room? So, I'm trying to figure it all out, because that's so weird to me. So she goes to Dejan Lazar, who is, at this point, at the hospital. And he tells Martin, saying that while at the expo, he realized that there's a flaw in 9.4, and that he could be able to screw with Jonah's plan and possibly manipulate the chip. Then, we can't have a Tony and Ziva episode without a good old cliffhanger, can we? So, eventually, back at the airport, where Sophie and Tully are at, they just got off the flight to Isla Zafira. Safari. Whatever. My brain's so tired. I recorded 5 videos today, so I'm sorry. Sophie and Tully are doing their plan that they were told that Sophie said that they would do, which is if there are bad guys at the airport, Sophie would beat them up, and Tully would use her family as camouflage. What do you know? There are bad guys. In fact, Jonah's men are there. And they do what they try to do, but eventually... Yep. The henchmen find Sophie and Tully eventually gets kidnapped. To be continued until the series finale. So that was NCIS Season 1. NCIS Season 1. Fuck. Tony and Ziva Season 1, Episode 9. Named Ride or Die. I liked this episode. I'm legit curious where they're gonna go with the finale. Because this was a whole lot of shit. There's a lot of shit that I had to bring up in this episode. This was bam! Bam, 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 bam. Man. I'm gonna do a compilation of this with all my week-to-week episodes of Tony and Ziva. And I know it's gonna be long. I know it's gonna be long as fuck. So. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious how the finale is gonna be. I can't wait for it on Thursday. I'm wondering how they're gonna end this season, because man, this was huge. So before we head out, let's get into the ZIVA-ISM of the review, and I already know which one I want to do. I thought I pulled it up. Hold on. I know which one I want to do. I just thought, there we go. This ZIVA-ISM of the review is this. Ziva talks to McGee. She says, My citizenship test is coming up, and I wish to pass with swimming colors. Mickey says, "Don't you mean flying colors?" Ziva goes, "Any colors would do, Mickey." So, yeah. I hope you liked this episode review. And especially for Tony and Ziva, l'amour est puissant. And until the season finale. See ya.